PGA Nation, we are back and we've made it to the Final Four. So, the golf playoffs, the FedEx Cup is coming to an end. There's 2 weeks left, 50 golfers remaining. Golf madness here on King of the Draft. We are counting a king is down to 4. We are at the Final Four. After tonight, we'll have 4 drafted teams to compete. And then next week will be the championship. 1 team left at Eastlake for the Tour Championship. So we've narrowed it down to the big dogs. And I think we said this a couple weeks ago as we were leading up to the event, and it's still rung true. It is the cream is rising to the top. The better players, the people we thought would do well, are here at the end, which means, maybe it's not as random as we thought. Maybe it is. There's a reason we got these Final Four here. I am super excited for tonight and break it down. I'm so excited for our show tonight. I don't even feel like we need to congratulate Scotty Scheffler. It's not like he's even won that much this year, but it's Scotty Scheffler. No one's surprised that he's won. He won the tournament. It really wasn't even all that close. So here we are, the more important competition, King of the Draft. Spence, how you doing tonight?
I'm doing well. You talked about it. I was telling somebody this on Sunday. If you look at the groups and you look at this Final Four right now, every single person that is there was either the first or the second seed from within their group. And the cream has risen to the top here. And, Byron, I have to congratulate you for a second. You kind of did exactly what Millie Goats did against me to take me out of this contest, just the reverse of it. So guys got hot on Sunday. Unfortunately, AK's team absolutely imploded on itself down the stretch. And I was on the other side of that. Like I understood that with AK, with what he was feeling with that, because he did the same thing to me to eliminate me from the contest. But talk a little bit about that sweat. I know you and AK were talking about it over on X.
Yeah, I have no business being here. There was a time like 2 hours before the tournament ended that there was no chance I was going to win. And then Fitz went bananas. Norin went nuts. Had a couple guys fly up the board, and a couple of his trip over their own teeth, down the stretch there. I don't know if Sungjae was in. Hole 18 was just a disaster class across the board. I had Matt Fitzpatrick as well, make double, so that was kind of it for me. And then his boys continued to make bogeys and bogeys and bogeys on 18. So 18 cost a lot of people a lot of money. I know Tambo lost 5 digits on a Sungjae M 4-footer, and life goes on, so if Tambo needs any help there, I can assist with the Sungjae M stuff.
Well, I'll take a 5 digits if you're looking to assist. And he said if I need any help there, you want to get that back, I'll let you have the finals. You just give me back the 5 digits.
I'm the go forward.
Yeah, okay, I got you.
Tambo was giving out a good lesson pre-show when we were chatting, and he, with people were already pre-celebrating for him with the last couple holes, and he was kind of baiting everyone off. He's like, hey, anything can happen before we count my money. And it's important in golf. It's not count your chickens before they hatch, because there's some big swings that can happen in just a couple holes, and it could be good or bad. You could feel like you can't catch it and you can catch up, or you could be in the lead and you could drop at the very end. So you got to see it through to the very end before you have any celebrations. Tambo, tell everyone about the sweat you had on Sunday.
Yeah, and I don't believe in like jinxes, mushes, nothing like that. Our job as DFS players specifically is done when we hit lock. We can't control the shots. We can only put ourselves in that position. You said a really good point there, Joel. It's like everyone always sees. For me, I dropped from 20K down to 5K. It's still a great week. I had the first place. The bogey from M dropped bogey points plus position placement points. So I dropped down into second. That was $10,000 down from 20 to 10. And then the Burns, if he just makes par, at least I protect the 10. But he made bogey, which again, bogey plus the position placement points. So dropped down again to third and squeak out fourth. It almost got worse. I was worried it was fourth, but it ended up being third. But the point being, I've definitely been in spots where I've had that go my way, and you're jumping the board and you're like, oh man, that guy just made a bogey there. Like, give me that. Sweet. That gets me the seat or the ticket or the money or whatever. So you just got to be prepared for that. But that was the sweat, the M bogey, which funny enough, and this is what people were talking about, that was a put your money where your mouth is lineup. That was just a lineup from this show last week that I played it there, and it ended up having a really nice run. But Joe and I were so close last week in the ranges. So not just on the, the plays themselves, you can't pick the same guys, obviously, but the composition of the lineup and the construction. It was like he landed on 68. I wanted him. He wanted Rye. I wanted him. He wanted Fitzpatrick. Like anytime we landed in that zone, it was kind of like just a discretion of who you wanted. But I got my guy Sung Jae. He came through otherwise. That one hurt at the end, but it's like, product of so many other things that go into it. You just need to close it out. 18 was getting a lot of people this Sunday, like Byron said.
Well, it goes to show you, if you had just played Tambo's lineup from the show last week, watch the show, play the lineup, you would have made a lot of money. Now, obviously, it doesn't work out that way every week, but it certainly did last week. Now that we're at the Final Four, we're going to do it all over again. Tonight, we're going to have Tambo versus Byron. Winner will advance to the finals. But, of course, as we do every week, we will spin to decide who gets to go first. We had some interesting ideas before the show. Maybe next year we'll go the highest scorer gets to pick first pick. But tonight, same rules. We're spinning for it. Byron, what did you say? You want to go first?
Yeah.
Well, you got to see if that is your choice, and it will not be. So, Tambo, you choose.
0 for 3.
First, or you give it to Byron?
I'm going to go first.
Tambo going first. Byron going second in tonight's draft.
I've never got the spin right, ever. The spin has never chosen me.
No, you've Babe Ruth called your shot every single time and tried to steal the pick that you wanted, and all 3 times it's gone the other way. I will say this, Tambo said last week he's not as nice as it seems. He's the first one that did not let you have what you wanted to have here, so Tambo's going to be able to start the festivities here at the 101.
But
yeah,
Byron,
I can't be messing around. You never know the guy in a clown suit, what he's up to. So I got to just get down to business quick and make it happen. I like my thoughts this week. I'm not going to give them all now, so I'm just going to give the picks so that you'll know roughly the direction I'm going. But I'm going to start it out right away, and I'm going to take 2 guys in the 9K range back to back. I'm going to go with Ludwig.
Yeah. Feel free to tell us those 2 people. Go ahead.
Yes, Ludwig and Cam Young.
No, you only get one to start. You want Ludwig or Cam Young?
I want. Oh yeah, my bad. Why did I think that? I knew something. That's okay.
You would, if it wasn't one, you would have.
Oh shoot! I thought you got 2 picks to start, or did I just set Byron up to see what he thinks of me?
Do you want to stick with Ludwig as the one, or do you want Cam Young?
Definitely Ludwig.
All right, Ludwig off the board. Now, Byron, before you complain about never winning the first pick, you are in the semifinals and you haven't lost yet. So it may not have gotten the first pick, but whatever you've been doing has worked out for you thus far. No. So, Clown, you have 2 picks. Ludwig off the board. How you starting off your draft?
Listen, I've had the first pick a couple times. I just didn't win the spin. I just somehow managed to get the first pick. So with my first pick, I'll do Cameron. Sorry. I'll do Cameron. I can't seem to say that. I can't say it properly without throwing up in my mouth. So I'm actually just going to leave that one alone. I'll go off the top rope here. Sam Burns, 10-4. Give me, boy. I feel like he's the guy up top here that I really, really trust. That's, $4K cheaper than Scotty, and we'll finish second to him kind of thing this week. So give me Sam Burns there. And then I'll take Wyndham Clark at $8,700. Just trying to find some guys that can win the tournament for me, or at least finish second and third to Scotty. Wyndham Clark often has done that to Scotty Scheffler as well. So Wyndham on bent. Give me Wyndham on bent greens. I fancy this guy's opportunities on a course like this. Power overload. Wyndham Clark, let's get it.
All right, you got one of mine already, so that's perfect. Good start there. Now I actually get 2 picks, correct?
Now you do. Yeah. I'm shocked, Byron, that you didn't actually take Cam Young and really try and mess with Tambo there. But you thought about it, but you didn't commit. So Tambo, I'm sure one of your 2 will be Cam Young.
Yeah, my next one will be Cam Young. I was just I had to do something to save face to try and make Byron think that maybe I didn't want him. So I was like, okay, I'll do that. And then I want to get my my value out of the way now. I want to get Minwoo Lee.
Okay.
Yeah, the market loves Minwoo Lee this week. And just to backtrack to the Oberg pick, if I would have had the number 1, I think that's probably the route I would have gone. Also Tambo. There's a lot to like about him past whatever you're seeing in the market. He's a sharp mover across the board with every single market you want to look at, whether that's betting or DFS. But Like your start there with Ober Young and Minwoo Lee. Byron, you started with Sam Burns, Wyndham Clark. You're going to get 2 picks here. You have 7,725 left. Give us the first one.
I'm going to go with Alex Noren at $6,900. You know, I'm going to bring the bell that got me to the ball again. Did well for me last week. Prefer him on Bermuda, but not terrible on bent grass greens either. I don't think the course length is a concern, a smidgen, but at the same time, I think he's just playing such good golf right now for a $6,900 golfer. You're getting some really good value. I kind of fancy Noren over Minwoo straight up, if I was to say so myself. So I'll take that small W, if anything, over here. And then I'm going to do a weird, goofy thing and just kind of go 2 6K guys so that I can really find the guys I want in the 8. And I'm going to go with Alex Smalley at $6,700. Ben Grass Greens, second at the PGA Championship, horrible chipper. Give me the guy that can putt at a golf course you're going to see lots of green regulations at. So 2 Alexes in the 6Ks.
2 Alexes around here for Byron of value, both in the 6K range. I guess my main question here for you, Tambo, is are those the value plays you would have taken yourself this week, or either of those guys on your radar, or were you heading in a different direction?
No, the only guy he got that I wanted was Wyndham. So we're good on that. I'm actually happy. I'm really happy what he did and who he took, and how it works out, we'll find out. But just from my strategic purposes, he got me on Wyndham early, but Wyndham was never going to be in my top 2, even if I really did get 2 picks in first. So it's like that works out for me, but he's got a good one there. I'm just thinking strategy on this one, because we're back to getting another.
To be honest, I'm now only filling out my DraftKings lineup, so I went with 2 really cheap guys just to make sure I have enough salary for other guys.
Yeah, it makes sense. Oh, for sure.
Slight
That's
problem
what I got to
on my
think
part
about
there.
now, how I want to land this. So I think it's pretty obvious because you're good there. So yeah, I've got it now. All right, you want to give them both back to back?
Yep, you had 2.
I will go with I'm going to go with Jake Knapp at 8,200. And then I'm going to go back to the well on this guy. Everybody wanted him last week. I took him first overall last week, so I'm going to run it back. I'm going to take Justin Thomas.
JT and Jake Knapp off the board. A really strong round. I really like Jake Knapp this week. I think he's really turning a corner from back to the form we saw kind of early in the season where he was really dominating the tour. Spence, I'd love to get your take. We saw 2 value plays go off the board here, and then 2 of the 8K kind of mid-round range. Where do Nori, Smalley, and then Knapp and Thomas fall on your model this week?
Smalley is fringe value at the price. Noren, I'm indifferent on. I'm probably not going to be playing Alex Noren. I understand that there's some form around him, but I mean, if we say one about one player, I faded Justin Thomas this week. I ended up taking Colin Morikawa in a matchup, which I understand is not a DFS answer. It's more of a betting take there. I took that at -111, but I mean, I think we have 2 competitive teams right now, and you've really seen where the strategy has lied with both of them, with where we have Tambo at 7,200 and Byron sitting there at 8,650 with these last 2 picks. And Byron, before you give us those picks, we haven't really had an opportunity a lot. I'm going to kick it back to Tambo when it's his pick to have him talk about Ship It Nation, but I'd like you to talk a little bit about your Patreon, everything that you have going on, and tell the people where they can find all your work and just give a little sales pitch.
Yeah, the Model Maniac Patreon. It's my baby. It's been what we're doing. Showdown stuff after every round, all of my jazz in there. Working on some stuff behind the scenes for 2027 already, kind of getting my toes wet in some stuff, and looking forward to just a good year next year again. But we'll be powering through the fall swing as well as always. Same schedule. Every tournament, every round is covered over there. So lots to be had. And shout out to Fantasy Golf Degenerates, who I do the show with Kenny Kim on, and I'm still swimming in those beautiful shoes of Tambo that he left me there in my seat. And it's been a journey ever since, trying to replicate what the great man did prior to me. But if I can pursue being a Tamboline for the rest of my life, I think good things will come my way. So that's the daily goal every time I wake up. So Go FGD, baby.
Amazing.
Yeah, a lot of good stuff with Byron. Check him out if you haven't already. All right, Byron, you got 2 picks here to wrap up this draft. First question, do you like where you sit right now? Is this kind of how you had planned it coming in? No,
I don't, because I'm leaving like a couple $100 on the table, but there's also a 50 man field. So I'm not going to be too freaked out about salary, but the fact that I went 2 6K guys and then leaving a bunch of salary on the table is concerning to me in a head to head, but beggars can't be choosers. Choosers are beggars, whatever you want to say. I'll go ahead and do 2 stallions of the Steady Eddie stable there. Russell Henley at $8,400. I believe he was maybe in my team last week as well. Didn't quite come home for me. I think the less we're chipping this week, the better. Russell Henley stands a chance of playing some good golf. And then I'm going to go Patrick Cantley at $8,500 as well. He's just been hanging around the 10th place spot nonstop. And for this price tag, I'm looking for a bit more safety. I've got Burns, I've got Clark, I've got Marin as my upside options. And then we'll go with Cantley, Henley, and Smalley as my guys that are looking to anchor down the lineup for me.
Tambo, I have a question for you, and I know that this is something that I do at the end. Like if everybody out there gets a chance to tomorrow, I always go through these matchups, and I have AI give their projection. I ask it some questions. I don't use a ton of AI. It's not something that I've gotten into. I'm trying to get myself more acclimated with it, and then I run projections in my model as if it was a matchup. You have one more pick right now at 7,200, but I'm going to ask you this question. You can be as brutally honest to Byron as you would like to be. Where do you think you sit at right now, percentage-wise, to advance based off of your team and Byron's team?
I think it's closer than people probably think. One thing that's interesting, I don't know if you saw this, and I'm sure you have it on your model that you go through, and Byron definitely has it on his models, but Byron's team, like my team, is much more bomber heavy. Not that obviously he's got Burns and Wyndham, but I'm saying like kind of with like Noren, Smalley, Henley, Cantley, they can all put it out there. They're PGA Tour players. I get it. I'm saying, but it's like he seemingly ends up with a different style of team, and it's already only a 50-man event, high variance. I think it's going to be a really good battle. The interesting part is he's got 2 6K guys, no 7s, and I'm going to have no 6K guys when it's all said and done. So we've also got, a different style of lineup as well. So I don't know. We'll have to see. Your AI has not been – your AI and Mr. Fry, I'll put a little rhyme together. Both those two have been hurting going up against Tambo, saying he's not going to bring the stuff, and then finding out that I'm shipping the whole tournament and beating everybody back-to-back weeks. So we'll see if that continues. I hope it does, but I'm okay if it says I'm not the best. I'll just go with my team and hope that it has a good run again.
AI still has some work to go. I mean, I will say this, Tambo, my model, I understand last week I did not advance you, so you can throw my model into the mix of that too. But I think my model's been a little bit more generous to you in a lot of these spots than what AI has been. So
yes,
we will see how this closes. And as you said, there are unknown variables about Bellerive with this not being hosted since 2018 at the PGA Championship. The bomber narrative that Tambo's gone through, a little bit more of this precision that we've seen on Byron's end. I don't know if we necessarily have an answer for what this is going to be. Golf's going to have to be played. But before you give us this pick, Tambo, I know that there's been a lot going on at Ship It Nation. I don't know what you want to disclose of exactly what's happening, but tell everybody about what the new setup looks like. I know that there's been some big changes with it. So tell everybody what Ship It Nation looks like now.
Yeah, man, it's all really exciting stuff. Myself, Hoop's still a big part of it. We've got a new CEO coming on as the majority shareholder. His name's Ben Magan. He'll be doing some shows and stuff with us, not content per se, but hopping on to discuss the future of Ship It Nation, Nation Communication, we're calling it. So we'll break it all down for everybody. We've got a ton of exciting stuff just around the corner, a lot of surprises, a lot of things upcoming with this NFL season, and hoping that we've got some big surprises when the golf season comes back around as well. So we'll see how that shakes out, but definitely looking forward to everything we've got moving forward. But most importantly, all that aside, I will say this week is a pretty big week. Those that know Degenerate 75, James, who passed last year after a 15-month battle with stage 4 colon cancer, he is no longer with us, but our big guy in the sky is watching down, and we've got the big guy event this week in Las Vegas. Spencer, I know you'll be there with me. We're hoping that, look, it's last minute, but if anybody is in Las Vegas and wants to join, support James, celebrate, tell some stories, have some fun. We've rented out the Detroit Ballroom at the D Hotel and Casino in Las Vegas on Fremont. We've got the 12th floor Detroit Ballroom rented out. You're welcome to come join us. Shoot me a message, shoot Spencer a message, whatever you want to do, and he'll pass it along to me. We'll get you guys set up. You can come out at 7:30 to 10:30 on Friday night at the D, at the Detroit Ballroom. We'll do stuff after as well, I'm sure, but just that's the actual event. There's drinks, appetizers. Probably only going to make the first, hour or so about the somber, the sadness stuff. We'll make it in the best spirits and try and have some fun with it. But I'm just saying, like, James wouldn't want us sitting around moping around all night. He wants the community to come together. He wants everybody to have a good time. So everybody's welcome. It's not a Ship It Nation thing per se. It's a DFS community. All are welcome, no matter anything. If you're there for any reason in Las Vegas, you should pop by just even for a little bit. It's going to be a good time.
Yeah, I will drop that in my Discord. Tambo, I know I said this last week. Send me the link for it. I will post it into the show link for this episode.
For sure.
So anybody who does watch this that is either able to get out here and get a last minute flight in or is potentially in Vegas. I know there's a lot of people inside of my Discord that are inside of Vegas. So, please consider coming out to this. It's, as Tambo said, it's a celebration of life. It's somebody that I think all of us on this stage looked up to, and he very courageously fought that battle to the very end. I mean, that's one of the things that I wrote about in an article when I tried to celebrate his life last year. Is I remember, Joel, him coming on this show specifically right before he may have been diagnosed at that point, but you would have never known it. Like, he was full of life and energy. And I wrote in the piece, he was the rock star of the episode, and Sia Najad was with us at the time on the show when he was still a part of it. And I thought he was the brightest light that there was on the show that week. And that's no shot to Sia yourself for myself. I just think that his personality really exuded all the best of that there is in the world. And he's surely missed by everybody on this stage. And I would say once again, please, if you can, consider coming out.
Yeah, thank you. I'll send you the link, but yeah, definitely would appreciate it. Obviously everybody wants to show support and come out. If you want to show support in other ways, let us know, but we've already got it mostly taken care of. So I think in general, just want to get as many people there for James as possible, but we're going to have a great time no matter what and do it the right way. So we're excited for that.
Yeah, look forward to that. Look forward to meeting you in person, Tambo. But before we can do that, we're going to need one more pick from you to round out this draft.
I thought we were just going to end it there. But
yeah. What do you think the odds are if you get a 6v5? You think you got a shot?
I'll take my chances, Tempo. But throw Adam Scott in there, call it a day, and let's get out of here.
What if I was going back to the well on my guy? No, I can't do that. Honestly, this guy just cost me $10,000. I'm biased here. I don't care, but I'm going to go with Adam Scott. We'll round it out. I'm sticking with a theme here, and it wasn't to get two Aussies with him and Min Woo, but just in general, I think this is a good squad. I think it's a good battle. I really look at the tried, tested, and true side that Byron has over there. He got my Wyndham Clark pick. Obviously, Sam Burns is, he's been better than Ludwig and Cam Young. He just was there in the final group last week. So it's like, I love his start. We've got different thoughts on the value plays, but my thing was could I build a really good lineup that was correlated in a way with the Bombers and not go into the 6K range at all, just to, see if I could get a different, unique build and then hope that that's different. That's why I said it wasn't a shot at his picks, Norin and Smalley. I just like that it's set up for what I was looking for my angle of, like, at least then I don't even have to think about it. So I'm good to roll to stay out of the 6K range and just see what a balanced build looks like. But his build, really good on paper. It's the best 50 golfers of the season. So it's going to be a fun battle.
One last question for you guys before we wrap this draft up and move on to the other matchup. Because it's a 50-man field and there's obviously no cut and everybody's going to get 4 days, how meaningfully different is your roster construction knowing you're going to get a guaranteed 4 rounds out of each golfer? Are you more likely to look for stars and scrubs? Does that change in a cash lineup versus a GPP? Just tell me what goes into that change when you're building lineups this week.
I'll just say quickly, I definitely like looking at guys that can make birdies and score, because it's really, one thing that I think people overlook is, like, obviously the position placement points matter a ton. And it also depends on the type of tournament it is and where it's at. If it's a birdie fest, that, those matter, but the scoring along the way matters even more. But I'm just saying, in something like this, it's like 2 spike rounds or even one, really low round could be a difference maker of, someone that finishes 20th, but still scores in the top 10 golfers because they had that spike round. If they have 2, they probably not only scored incredible and hard for somebody else to make it up against you, but they also are up the board because of that too. And even if they drop down a little bit, they still just have a massive score to go with it. In a head-to-head, I need that. So that's the other thing. We both can get it here with our types of builds, depending on how the course plays, etc. But I want all these guys. People, some of them say, oh, they did nothing last week, or how could you go back to this guy, whatever. It's like, to me, it has nothing to do with that. I'm looking for guys that can get these spike rounds, and these guys have the opportunity to do so. So I feel good about my lineup. I like it. How it plays out, we'll have to wait and see.
To Tambo's point, and something I often kind of relay, 9 birdies and 9 bogeys beats 18 pars. So if you're looking for scoring, there's a way to do that, right? Finding guys that get a lot of birdies, a lot of bogeys this week is probably more valuable than normal, because those guys that are more susceptible to miss a cut, they can't do that. So those birdies are just going to accumulate over 4 days. How about you, Byron? Are you having a different strategy when building lineups in this unique type of field and setup?
Yeah, unlike Tambo, I'm here for the people as well, to give them some good picks down the board in the 6K range, trying to create good content, except for trying to win the contest. So, we got to remember, this is the week of James. We're trying to embrace the whole community here. So these are the Alexes that we're looking at. Do I think Noren, lacking a bit of distance is a problem? Yes. Price tag matters, and I think he's got elite skill sets in other areas that matter this week as well. I'm cool going off of some bombers. I ultimately think, the more bombers you can have in your lineup, the better, as long as they are not called Alex Smalley, Russell Henley, Patrick Cantley, Alex Noren. But ultimately, in a 50-man contest, trying to find that leverage, you're going to have to take some risks. I do think, taking a different stance over the distance debate that we've got going on, which I fully endorse, can help you get a little different, because these guys can still load it up with putts, irons, those kind of things they do well. So, we'll see how it goes. But did panic a little bit there in the 3rd and 4th picks. Not going to lie to you. I was going Noren, but then the 4th pick just went, the whole lineup went off boil for sure.
Don't bail out yet. You still have to go out there and play the match. I think you got a shot, even though I will be taking Tambo's team in this matchup. But Byron, I actually thought your lineup might be even my preferred cash lineup. I just can't not think in tournament mode, and I like the upside that Tambo has put together on his side as well. 2 legends of the space. There is a reason you both have made it to this point in the draft. One of you will get to advance to the finals this week. We greatly appreciate you guys showing up, giving us some great content tonight. Before we let you guys out of here quickly, Byron, please tell everyone where they can find you. What's your favorite bet of the week?
They can find me at 170. No, that's my address. I did that last week. You can find me at the Model Maniac on X. Pretty much everything will be there that you can find on the subsidiary platforms that I'm on. I'm going to go with Tambo's guy, Jake Knapp. There's a Bet Rivers combinable finishes tab that you can get him a top 20 for plus 110 in a 50-man field. But he's just been popping out top 20s like it's nobody's business when he's been healthy. So give me even money plus 10 and Jake Knapp top 20. That's a small way I can hedge my stake against Tambo here without going fully off the board.
Boom. I love it. Tambo, favorite bet of the week, and where can we find you?
You can find me on X at Toetag and Tambo. You can find me at Ship It Nation, DFSmastermind.com, bunch of different places. But I think for the bet, man, I like probably like I'll take like a Minwoo top 10. I think that's what I'll go with this week. I like a top 10 bet. It's not going to be as good of odds, obviously only 50-man field, but I don't have anybody I'm super high on outright. I know a lot of people are in the one and done streets, and they have some big decisions to make this week for that. I know it's down to the wire, so people are trying to figure that stuff out. It's a different game altogether. Another fun one like this, just a different format. So I just want to say thank you to you guys for putting this together. We'll see how it shakes out. Hopefully can get through to the finals and be back with you one more time. But if not, definitely been a lot of fun going back and forth. And like you said, you can never count yourself out. Like Byron's over there worried about his third. It's a 6v6. It's amazing. Like anything can happen. That's what's going to make it fun. And he's here, like you said, off of a crazy win last week to even get in. So I think that's kind of the fun in this, but excited for the week ahead. Excited for the big guy event in Vegas. Excited to see you, Spencer, and anybody else that wants to join us there. Joel, thank you as always, man. And Byron, good luck. We'll see you.
I'd say the same, Tambo, but you don't need it. So good luck to the rest of us on the stream here.
We look forward to having one of you back next week.
Thank you, guys.
All right, guys. Later.
Bye.
Later, guys. All right, Spence, we got one more ahead of us. That was an epic draft. 2 legends. Looking forward to see who comes out on top. But we're not done yet tonight. On the other side of this Final Four, we have 2 more legends. 2 veterans of our show. We have Kyle. We have Notorious. And we have one more that will advance to the finals as well. We're going to set up the wheels. We set up the draft. Before we do so, Noto, how you doing tonight?
Yeah, what's going on, fellas? Good to be back. Last week was kind of nice because Robert McIntyre just decided to shoot 100 over and then withdraw. So I was sitting pretty there on Thursday.
There's not often where I say someone on our show could have actually beaten a golfer in the field, but last week that was in question with Robert McIntyre. He was really falling off the face of the earth. Kyle, welcome back. How you doing tonight?
Yeah, I'm doing good. Fresh off of an airplane, got back from Florida earlier, so feeling good. Fresh legs from the vacation. So looking forward to this matchup against Noto, which we've been talking about this competition, this draft for the past couple weeks here, and now we get to face off in the Final Four, a Roto Grinders semifinals. I'm looking forward to it.
There will be a Roto Grinder in the final, but which one will have the first pick? That we will decide right now. Kyle, it's your choice. Will we be going first or second tonight?
I'll defer here. I'll give the first to Noto.
You're going to give the first. Okay, so you're going to go second.
Yep.
Okay. Noto, you are going to get the first pick. I don't know if that's what you wanted, but it's what you got. And without further ado, you're on the clock.
Yeah, this is kind of tough because you can go so many different ways this week. Last week I went Scheffler. Don't think I'm going to do that again just because I don't like the lineup around him as much as I did last week. So I'm going to go follow Tambo, and I'm going to go Ludwig Oberg with my first pick.
Ludwig with the first pick again. And depending on what Kyle does here, in the semifinals, the best golfer in the world coming off of a win might go undrafted in the semifinals, which would be really interesting. So, Kyle, you have 2. How are you going to start your draft?
Yeah, I think, I did defer, kind of wanting to see if Noto would take Scotty here, kind of give him the option. I love the way that Tambo started. Ludwig would have been an option for me. I'm also going to pass on Scotty. I feel better about passing on him, knowing that it's unlikely that Noto can make that work now. So feel a little bit better about it now. So I'm going to go with Cam Young here for my first overall pick. Really like this spot for Cam Young. It was between Cam Young and Ludwig for me. I will say I might have a little bit of advantage here on Noto. I think I've been reading and monitoring Noto's content for like 10 years now. So, and obviously it's like a weekly tradition for me. So I think I have a decent feel on who he likes in this week, but I'm going to go with someone who I haven't seen him write up or talk about yet for my second pick. I'm going Michael Brennan. Obviously, just a few weeks removed from that win. I think he's a really strong fit for this course. I mean, Tambo kind of went with that Bomber's Paradise approach in that one. I think that's sort of how I'm reading this course as well here. And for me and my model, Michael Brennan has the top off the tee fit score this week. And obviously a lot of other parts of his game are rounding into form as well. So I did struggle a bit last week, but I think that's a more difficult course where we were playing for maybe a shorter course type play, but love Brennan this week. So I'll take him for my second pick.
Certainly a solid start to your Bomber draft strategy if you're going with Young and Brennan as the first 2. Obviously a strategy that more than one likes for this week. Before we move on to your next pick, I do have a question. I'm going to shoot this one at you, Spence. Ludwig was the first pick in the last draft. He was the first pick in this draft. You also said that he would have been one of your first picks this week as someone you really like. Ludwig, obviously a great golfer. He hasn't shown to be a great winner of tournaments, right? You don't need to win for him to be your first pick, but I'm curious, are you interested in him to also win at 17-1 this week, or is he someone you're more just interested for DFS purposes?
I think the number at 17-1, you could make an argument that there's been a little bit, maybe not even too much movement. I have him proper, even better than that for whatever that's worth here. Like my numbers are so bullish on Oberg this week, but like kind of in that 16-1 range is what I had proper. I got him at 20-1 to start on Monday, and there's a lot of reasons why I'm not sitting here in the final four. Like I've said about Patrick Cantlay a million times that he's one of them, but like really, Oberg is probably one of the main culprits. I took him first overall when I had the ability to at the Travelers. Well, my first overall pick at least. Kenny took Scotty Scheffler, didn't have that option there, but yeah, I mean, look, I mean, my numbers continue to like Oberg, and Derek and I were kind of talking about it. I responded to one of his posts that I knew he was on Oberg, and I had the ticket on him, and I was like, I think Oberg's going to win this event. And there's a lot of pushback that you get when certain names continue to be said. And Kyle has seen this quite a bit with the Siwoo Kim stuff that I've done on the action show. Like, it's been the same names over and over again that I'm chasing a win on those two. I'm chasing a win on Fleetwood, which maybe on the Fleetwood thing, I can make an argument that I have to stop that at some point. Like the win equity is not as high as my model projects, and maybe I need to go hand modify some of that stuff. But, you know, when the public gets this general idea that a golfer cannot win, you typically do get some drift that occurs. And I will say as a whole, I think markets are a lot sharper than they've ever been. Like even if you just look at boards right now and you go to, I think I can name books on here, but if you go to like Pinnacle and Bookmaker and any of these any of these sharp locations out there, Oberg is, I believe, the second biggest mover for sharp action that you have on the board. So it's kind of this weird dichotomy that enters the mix where all the sharp people are saying Oberg is a good play this week to win this golf tournament. And a lot of the general public is telling you that he has no chance. And more often than not in this argument, the general public has been correct. But I think we are number shopping. We are trying to find value. You're trying to find a price where your numbers are better than what the market is presenting. And that is how you try to build a bankroll long-term, is kind of taking those value opportunities and understanding that if a golfer has a 16-1 chance and you're getting him at 20-1, you take your little bit of an edge there, which is substantial in the outright market, and you kind of pepper those spots where you can. But as I always say, hitting outrights are very difficult at the end of the day. It's going to be the matchups, the placements. All of that is how you build a bankroll. But no, I really do like Oberg this week. And if you can find this at 18-1 plus, I think it's kind of a hammer spot of the names at the top of the board.
Well, boom, there you have it. The question will be for you, Noto. Well, are you betting Ludwig to win this week? And then what are your next two picks?
Yeah, so I did bet Ludwig at 18-1 this morning, and it's funny, like it's been 18 months since he's won. People act like it's been, years or that he's never won. I'm a believer, like you put yourself in the contention enough, you're eventually going to win. I mean, Charles Howell went nearly 12 years. I don't know how long you guys have been watching golf, but I mean, this dude was in contention all the time. Went 12 years in between wins. So I'll just continue to trust the numbers with Ludwig. And then Spence, you mentioned something about sharps. Why do all the sharps love Justin Thomas? I'm so confused by this guy.
I mean, my model he is the worst value that I have in my model this week. I took Colin Morikawa in a matchup against him. I thought it was one of those spots where I could actually go against some of this sharp money that propelled him last week. I thought it was a better course fit for him last week, and I understand he didn't necessarily put together anything to note there either, but we seem to be going back with the sharp money hitting him once again. I would agree with you. I don't see it inside of my model. I don't know if Kyle has a different answer that he can tell us of, and if I won't ask the question right now because if Kyle wants him, I mean, I guess if you're not going to take him, Derek, then it probably doesn't matter here, but I'm not personally seeing it.
Yeah, it's just one of those things, like the higher the dollar entry, the higher owned he is in DFS every week. I think he was number one on your little chart last week. But
yeah.
Anyway, okay, let's get back to the picks. I'm going to go with the guy that you just mentioned, Spence. I'm going to go Patrick Cantlay, playoff P. It's this time of year. Get some echo in there. Yeah, I just think, ball striking's been much better. Tee to green's been awesome. And yeah, I just think he provides me a very safe floor for head-to-head.
You've now started the lineup that got me eliminated with the first two picks. I also went Oberg and Cantlay to start my draft. I won't influence this next pick, but I like both of these two players. You have a very high opportunity here to potentially make it 3 for 3. So what is the next pick going to be?
All right, I don't know who it was, or else I would have just done it for the show. But I'm gonna go Kurt Kitayama, 7,900. Good ball striker. He's been so consistent, and if he just has a good putting week, I like his top 10 chances this week.
And not the person that did it to me, but a person who every single night and every single round seems to just be my kryptonite that I cannot figure out how to be on the right side of. Last week, he put together 2 really good rounds. He put together 2 really bad rounds. I backed him the 2 rounds that he played really poorly in head-to-head matchups there. Question for you, though, Derek. Where does he rank in your model this week?
Pretty middling, to be honest. He is 18th overall.
I have him 10th. That is kind of the weekly Kurt Kitayama story that continues to go. So, I mean, look, I like the pick. I think that this is like a lineup straight after my heart at this point with Oberg, Cantlay, and Kitayama, with potential to add more there to the mix. But really like what you've done. Really like what Kyle's done with the young Brennan start. You're going to have 8,300, Kyle, with these next 2 picks here. You want to give us the first one to start?
Yeah, Kitayama was certainly on my radar. I have him 12th in my model this week, so very high on Kitayama. So I like that pick. Cantlay also grades out really well for me, and from a cash perspective, he's like the 3rd or 4th best cash grade for me this week. So I think that certainly fits well for this format. I'm going to go with Sam Burns with my next pick. Obviously, I think I've taken him in 2 of the last 3 times on the show. Again, last week, same deal with Sam Burns. I don't know what he has going on Sundays, but I don't think he would have won the tournament. I think at the Open, I said last week, I felt he sort of gave that one away. Last week, he probably was not going to beat Scotty on that Sunday, but it was still frustrating to see him with that 3 over on Sunday. But I do like him once again here. I think that there's some parts of his game that fit this course very well. I think last week he might have been a slightly better fit for that course, but still think his game is in a great spot right now. He's the second highest graded player behind Scotty Scheffler and Kim Young. 3rd highest in my model this week. So like that pick there for Sam Burns. With my next play, Burns and Kitayama was kind of a target for me. So it does throw off my game plan slightly, but I guess I'll just try to mimic my team from last week some more. I'll go with Thor Bjornsson here at 7,500. I haven't seen him talked about too much here, but again, I like this fit for him. I picked him last week, and I think he's a better fit this week than he was last week. Has a little bit more of an advantage here off the tee with his length there. The approach game has been a little bit of a roller coaster ride, which that's sort of been the name of the game for Thor since he really made his PGA debut. But again, I think in a no-cut event, we've seen his upside on a per-round basis. Go out there and make some birdies. So, I'll go with Thor there to open up some value here.
Yeah, Thor, first time he was brought up on tonight's show, I think it's a solid pick. He guaranteed 4 days, so even if it's a blow-up round, you can get him. My main question for you, Kyle, here is before we go back to Noto, how much, I know you mentioned it, you said that is the strategy, you liked it, you're doing it yourself with the Bombers. How much are you prioritizing Bombers this week? Is this something where you want to make sure you have, at least 4 longer hitters in every lineup, or is it just kind of working out that way in this draft?
I would say it's probably a mix of both. I would say that feature within the game got a pretty significant grade in my model, and sort of just trying to draft based on the model at this point. So probably it's kind of just working out that way based on the guys who are showing up as values in DFS this week. But also, obviously, that's a lot of the input that is resulting in those outputs. So I do think that it's important. I do think that this week in particular, certainly a lot of volatility with that sort of strategy, because we haven't seen this course since 2018. And, things have changed in golf a lot since then. And it's difficult to understand, how much of an impact that might have. This week, I didn't really weigh any course history stuff. So sort of just trying to break down the course for what I can see based on the layouts and whatnot. But so I would say it's a good mix of both.
All right. Well, there you have it. Noto, Burns and Thorbjornsen off the board. I think question 1 is, were any of those guys on your radar? Would you have taken them in this spot? And then where are you going to go with your next 2 picks from here?
Yeah, love Sam Burns this week. I did bet him as well. The dude over the last 3 months, #1 in approach in this field. He's been an elite putter forever, and now all of a sudden he's just as good as anyone with the iron. So that pick scares me for sure, but if it's going to burn me, I hope he at least wins it, so I can get a little something back there. This one's kind of tough for me, debating two guys. I get the bomber narrative. I do. But the last time it was played here, it was super wet, super soft. And I think some of the course's length is a little bit hidden. Like there's 2 par 3s over 210 yards. The par 5s are over 610 yards. And I just think, I don't know, I think total driving is going to be a little bit more important than pure distance. I do have distance in my model, but I'm fine taking the shorter guys if they're still good off the tee. All that said, I'm going Siwoo Kim, 9,100.
There you go.
That guy's he's been my dude all year. I can't stray away now.
Yep, that's the third name if we're trying to recreate this lineup right now. So yeah.
Okay, what do I got left? 74?
7,400 per average per pick.
All right, I should have prepped a little better. Okay, I'm gonna go. This is a guy that I have not gotten right very often. The model always likes him because he's a good ball striker. I'll go JJ Spawn.
All right, so Spence, I heard you make this. I mean, I knew it when he said it because you obviously love Siwoo Kim every single week. This is looking very much so like a Spencer endorsed lineup here by Noto. But I guess Spawn's the new one. You're not very high on Spawn that often. Give us your take. What does your model think about JJ Spawn this week?
I mean, I had exposure to Spawn last week, more so in the matchup markets, like specifically against Minwoo Lee. That was my big bet of the week. I don't know. He's middle of the pack for me. I don't have a massive take on him one way or another. Like he lands inside of the 30 range for me, which is going to be a little bit of a negative value. I do want to talk about the Thorbjornsen pick really fast before we get back to Kyle to make 2 picks here. I think there's a ton to like about Thorbjornsen. I ended up hitting him as a first-round leader and then had a lot of exposure to him in different areas and kind of just watched him implode over the next 3 days. But I agree with what Kyle said. I think this is a better spot for him. And I would like to ask both of you guys this question. And I know this is a nuanced question that is kind of difficult to answer depending on how you build your model. And we've talked a lot on both of these first 2 drafts about distance versus total driving and what that exactly looks like. And you guys can kind of take this how you want or give a specific number if you have one that can be given here. How much total driving distance is added to either one of your models? Like, is there a % weight that either one of you two have that you would be willing to disclose on this show?
Yeah, I can pull mine up. But mine works a little bit differently with the way that it works in my model. So the way that, which I talk about a little bit on the action shows that we do, where instead of just taking the raw stats, strokes gained off the tee, distance and whatnot, I try to filter that into an off the tee fit for the course. So a lot of times it'll be that fit that has, 4 or 5 different metrics in the internal weights of that. So for me this week, off the tee fit or off the tee weight was 24%, with the most important being distance at 19% inside that off the tee fit, good drive percentage being at 16%, total driving being at 12%. So there's some other metrics in there, but for the most part, that's kind of a feel of how my off the tee fit is being built this week.
Yeah, that's the same way. I mean, little different stats for me in the way that it's built, but that's exactly how I build all of my metrics, trying to kind of reconfigure stats to be a very course-specific fit. Same question for you, Derek.
Yeah, so I have total off the tee metrics at 15% total, because I do a lot of other stuff with field strength and raw strokes gain data over different time frames. But so my number will probably be a little bit lower. But total of that 15% is 6%. So I actually have distance weighted pretty high compared to my normal baseline for distance. But my thought process was I'll weigh the distance heavily, and then if the shorter guys still project well, then I'm going to be on them this week.
Yeah, I'll throw mine in there really fast to kind of just give 3 different answers for everybody listening. So mine's done in a way where like weighted strokes gained total is going to take the biggest impact of all 4 of the critical metrics. So for me, off the tee was 22% of that number. Weighted strokes gained total is 30% of the statistical grade. You're going to get like course form, which you're not going to get this week. So it's a 0 for that. and then you're going to get current form. So it's a 70-30 split the way that I'm looking at it. But it might be a unique answer with the way that I'm doing it. I have 0% distance, and that does not mean that I'm not looking at distance, but more so what I added to the mix is I looked at how golfers perform on long courses, and I kind of tried to merge that into similar tests with it. So I didn't want to eliminate any of the short golfers, and I wanted to see if there were any names that were shorter hitters that could kind of move themselves up the leaderboard when you gave them a longer course with like the generic statistics that are kind of land in the same general range there. And, you know, I think that at those long courses, you get a lot of similar answers of where distance comes into play. Like, for example, Thorbjornsen, 11th for me over the 2-year perspective that I ran it. If you look at his distance number in my model, he's 12th. So there's a lot of similarities to see how distance plays. And there's outliers that are going to be on both ends of the spectrum that are long, that are not good at long courses, and vice versa, that are short, that are good on long courses. And if anybody's curious, you can hit me up on Twitter and I'll show you the biggest disparities that I have in my model there. But I just think it's an interesting conversation to have now that we have a little bit more time to go through some of these things. Because, you know, there's 3 models here, not that mine matters specifically for this contest tonight, but there's a lot of viewpoints that can be had. And when you take a course like Belle Rive, where we don't know where the data is going to necessarily land, I think it's a unique perspective to try to hear everybody's voice and kind of just give the listeners an ability to move and traverse this board the way that they want. But you're going to be able to traverse this, Kyle, the way that you want with these last 2 picks. You have 7,700 for those 2 selections, Thorbjornsen and Burns being the last 2. How are you going to round out this build?
Yeah, I think, like I mentioned a little bit ago, sort of winging it at this point. So I appreciate the pause to talk a little bit about our models. I think that's good stuff for the listeners to hear, but also gave me a few extra minutes to figure out what I was going to do. My next option, other than, I guess there's option A and option B, was to actually go with JJ Spawn and then another guy in that same price range. But I'm going to pivot here. I talked about Minwoo Lee last week and how I was interested in taking him in a no-cut event. Obviously, you know, you can have a guy who finishes fairly low on the leaderboard, but makes up for that with 4 rounds of just opportunity to go out there and make a bunch of birdies. So I do think that he typically fits pretty well for these sorts of events. You always have the massive volatility of, you know, him just completely imploding. He didn't necessarily implode last week, but certainly would have hoped for a better finish than T55. But again, part of the reason why I didn't take him last week is because I didn't think he was that great of a fit for the course. If I'm right and there's, you know, some distance to be had here, or having an advantage in the distance category helps here, perfect fit for Minwoo Lee. It's just an added bonus that he gets the 4 rounds of going out and having a chance to, you know, maybe go super low. So I like Minwoo Lee there. Now I'm sort of torn here on my next pick. So I have pretty much 2 options. One, I can go back to Tom Kim at 8,100, who, you know, did fairly well for me last week, or I can essentially copy Tambo here and have like 3 of his 6 picks with Jake Knapp. Those are the 2 guys I'm between. Tom Kim has a better grade for me in terms of outright rankings, but Jake Knapp has the better DFS ranking for me this week. So I'm going to go with Jake Knapp. I think he brings a little bit more upside to it. I don't know if that's necessarily something that you are dying to chase in this sort of format where it's essentially a cash game. But, I mean, Jake Knapp, when he's at the top of his game at a course like this where I do think he's a great fit for it, you know, there's not many guys who I think fit a course as good as Jake Knapp does for this one. So it's, you know, a little bit of volatility looking at obviously coming off of the injuries that he had and a lot of missed cuts in that stretch, but he did look really good last week. I think he's a good fit for this course. Strong off the tee, strong on approach. We know he can get the putter hot. So I'll take Jake Knapp here to round it out.
Joel, before you take over, I want to say one thing really fast to this because, you know, we've been getting money coming in on these contests over and over again. And Brian out there has been trying to hit these parlays against me, and he took Derek and Byron. And I personally don't love the lineups between you and Tambo overlapping one another. I feel like this means I'm either going to have both of you win, which is what I do not need, or both of you are going to lose and he's going to win. And Golf Nut out there wanted to get involved. He also took the same side that, so I mean, there's a little bit of vulnerability for me. So I'm going to need you guys to be correct with that. And I'll let you take this over in a second, Joel. But I do want to ask you a question really fast, Derek, about Min-Woo Lee, because I think he was kind of a point of conversation during the last draft to where Tambo liked him. I didn't personally like him. I know the market seems to agree with Tambo and against me. I know he's a sharp mover this week. Kyle's on Min-Woo. Byron seemed to be off. We kind of have a split right now. So I'll ask you your thought on it. I'd like to hear your thoughts after that, Joel.
No, you're on mute.
Rookie move over here. Doesn't necessarily project that well for me, but he is like the second highest ranked guy below 7,300 for me. So I was debating him and two other guys for my last pick. So don't have to debate that anymore. But yeah, I don't love him. I don't hate him. He's a guy that scares me in this type of format because he has a ton of upside. But he could also, burn Kyle in the process too.
I think my take on Min-Woo is kind of similar to Noto's in that he's interesting to me in a GPP. That, like he said, the upside's there. His ownership probably won't be crazy, so I think he's a good GPP tart. I don't think he's someone I love as much for cash. I think there's a lot of volatility. I think the downside is certainly there. But he was. Like, I'm playing GPPs mostly, so he's someone that I would certainly sprinkle in a few lineups just because. And that argument isn't such a black and white thing that we say, for cash and for upside, because if Min-Woo Lee, goes out there and gives you a top 5 and the rest of Kyle's lineup isn't that good, that Min-Woo Lee could carry him to a win. So it's not always just about finding safety. You hit one of those upside guys in your lineup, especially at a no-cut event where you're getting guaranteed 4 days, that could be enough to kind of catapult you to a victory.
Yeah, one thing I do want to add on Min-Woo Lee is he's not someone that I would, be jumping off of my chair to bet this week either. He doesn't really grade out all that well in my model, but with the way that I was building the lineup, essentially at this point, it came down to needing, 3 guys under 7,500. I took the top 2 guys already, Michael Brennan and Thor Bjornsson. And then after that, like the guys in this range, like Adam Scott, Sung J.M., Ben Griffin, those are the next 3 that project just below Min-Woo Lee. Like just feeling pretty uninspired by all of those guys. So at this point, I might as well just take an upside play. I think, certainly from a cash perspective, there are probably some safer options, but there's a lot of, I know it's the top 50 golfers from the season, so you can't really do all that poorly no matter where you go. But I figured at this point, while being uninspired by a lot of guys in this range, might as well shoot for some upside as well.
I think
that makes sense.
That totally makes sense, especially in this format where you're guaranteed 4 days and there's only 50 golfers. That certainly makes sense. All right, Noto, you got your last pick. It's got to be a value. You got to go under 7,200. How you rounding out the squad?
Yeah, so this is kind of tough. The model says to go Justin Rose, but I never get him right. He actually, in a playoff event at the DraftKings, championship like 10 years ago or something, cost me first place. So because he was the only guy missing the cut, so I can't do it. I'm gonna go Adam Scott, like Kyle just mentioned. Not inspired all that much, but the form's been a little bit better. He played T12 last week, T9 at the Open Championship. When he's on, he's got plenty of distance, good approach play, and a good putter. And around the green, I'm not too worried about it this week because the greens are so big that I think the green regulation rate's going to be pretty high this week. So I'm going to go Adam Scott. Don't feel great about it, but can't do Justin Rose.
Well, before we move off this pick, let me ask this. If you had the option in this last spot, would you have taken Min-Woo Lee?
Yeah, so I was debating between Min-Woo and Rose, and then Min-Woo got taken, so I was like, well, I got to debate somebody. And I went to Adam Scott because I
was between Min-Woo and Adam Scott for that 7,200 spot as well.
And Scott was also drafted in the last draft, so it does sound like there's some overlap, some similarities in the targets there in that lower 7K range. I agree with you, Kyle, though. I think some of those picks are uninspiring. It's kind of hard to pick. You got to pick one to make these lineups work, right? But it's kind of finding that upside. So I think it was interesting to see, the overlap, how you guys ended up breaking it up. But again, looking at these two lineups, it looks like it's going to be a very competitive week. I don't have a strong lean either way. Feet to the fire right now. I'm going to pick. Ooh, this one's really close. I'm going to pick Kyle, but it's by a nose hair. How about you, Spence?
I mean, the Adam Scott pick, for all of what I just talked about with these bets, with Tambo having Adam Scott and Oberg, I think my expected value probably increased a little bit on those wagers now. So very happy with the Adam Scott pick, regardless of how this turns out. I don't know. I mean, look, I think it's very close between these two. I like the Cameron Young pick from Kyle quite a bit, and I think like Tambo going Oberg and Young makes a lot of sense. And we saw that those two picks got split at the very beginning of this draft, starting Oberg and Young. It's hard for me to pick against an Oberg, Cantlay, Kitayama, Siwoo Kim lineup. Like that's so what I would want to do on this show, and maybe that's the reason why. Noto, you might be out of the contest from this, but the lineup on paper is kind of just exactly what I am trying to do. But I think these are two incredibly good builds. And if Kyle's correct on Minwoo Lee and my model's wrong, I mean, I think this thing is legitimately 50-50 one way or the other.
I thought you were for sure going with Noto because that just looks like the lineup you would have
Well,
drafted.
You got Siwoo Kim. You got to go Noto.
Well, the problem, I mean, at the end of the day, that's what it is. But like the Young, Brennan, Sam Burns, Thorbjornsen start is so strong in my model, kind of in all four of those spots. I think there's a lot to like with how Kyle started it. And as I said, like I'm a little bit lower on Minwoo Lee. I'm a little bit lower on Jake Knapp also. But both of those two guys, what they possess is they possess distance. They possess the ability to make birdies in bunches if they get hot. And you kind of talked about it, Joel. I mean, it's a 50-man contest at the end of the day, and there's no cut. And birdies go a really long way. If you get one of those two guys to catapult themselves into the top five, that can be the difference maker. You know, if an Adam Scott or a JJ Spawn or both of them ends up being kind of middling of the pack, and Kitayama, I unfortunately know this recipe from him. It's a 63 one day and a 79 the next day. So it's never over. I will tell you that. Like Noto's lineup can be up by 150 points. And as long as Kyle has everybody active, there's implosion potential just left and right between even Cantlay if he's up there on the leaderboard and Oberg. I mean, it's one of those lineups where you cannot feel safe at any point. But I think both of these two, I really like both of their builds.
Yeah, I mean, to Spencer's point, it's going to be a fun sweat this week, no matter what tournament you're in, because of the fact that it's 50 golfers. Like, you can go from 40th place to 10th on Sunday alone because it's just not a large field, and especially if we'll see what the leaderboard looks like, but if it's close, so there can be some huge swings and a lot of variance. So it should be fun, a lot of sweating to get into the finals. But again, two absolute legends of the space. There is a reason these two made it to the finals. We wish you guys luck. Only one get to advance to the last round. Before we get you guys out of here, Kyle, we'll start with you. What is your favorite bet of the week? And please tell them where they can find you.
Yeah, I think I've made it a habit to just say outright for the top guy that I picked, number one. But I'm going to switch it up a little bit because it hasn't worked out yet. I'm going to go with my number two pick, getting real feisty here, Michael Brennan. I'll take him for a top 20. Last I saw plus 145. I mean, I love these signature events for like the top 20 market because, again, not necessarily as much in the playoffs, but you have some guys who kind of just disqualify themselves, or at least guys who I'm just not interested in betting on. So then that 50-man field becomes like a 35, 40-man field of guys who I would actually be interested in betting to finish in the top 20. And then after that, there's only X amount of guys who are actually value. So I do like this market quite a bit this week. So I'll go Michael Brennan in the top 20. As for where you guys can find me, on X at Kamer DFS, doing stuff at Roto Grinders and Action Network on the betting stuff. For PGA, working on PGA projections right now at Roto Grinders. Action Network is where you can find some of my plays, scores, and odds. You can find some of my bets there for all kinds of sports, but right now MLB and PGA, NFL, and college football right around the corner. So would certainly have my my hands on that as well. So yeah, check me out there.
I think you made a really interesting point too, something I'm going to look further into for this week myself. The top 20 market, I think, is especially interesting because there's so few golfers. Like it's almost like a 50-50 bet, right? Can you finish in the top half of the field? So if you're getting plus money, almost plus 200 on that, and a guy you like, I think that's a really good number for this tournament. How about you, Noto? Your favorite bet of the week, and tell everyone where they can find you.
Yeah, so like Kyle, you can find me at Roto Grinders. Twitter handle at RG_notorious. Also do a little bit for Action Network as well. And yeah, I'm sure I'll be talking to Kyle about some ownership stuff over the next 2 days. That'll be fun. Sucks that one of us is going to get eliminated. He's my absolute dude. But favorite bet of the week. Last week I went Scheffler top 10 at minus 180. I couldn't believe we got that price point on him. It was my biggest golf bet of the week or the year.
Wait, but didn't you also say last week that you had a Scheffler outright, which was also your biggest outright of the year?
No, I said he was going to win by a field goal.
Okay.
He won by a touchdown and 2-point conversion. So my bad on that one. But I'm going to go Xander top 10 at plus 150. So he's finished T12 or better, 9 of his last 14 starts. Loves the playoffs. Him and Cantlay both. You know, they love money. That's what motivates them. This is their time of year. So plus 150 for a top 10. It's not sexy once again, but it is my favorite bet of the week.
There you have it. We said it before the show. I'll say it again. The cream has risen to the top. There is a reason these 4 have made it to the semifinals. We will have 2 advance to the finals. We wish you guys the best of luck. You guys are absolute legends in the space. I'm sure if you're watching this show, you already follow them. But if you don't, smash the like button. Give them both a follow. You will certainly make more money and have more success by doing so. And don't forget, we have to thank our sponsors from LEVR. LEVR in the chat. LEVR has been the absolute best, most gracious sponsor of our show, making this thing the serious tournament that it is, and sponsoring a prize, a pretty hefty prize that does include a comma in it. So stay tuned. You guys stick around. When the winner comes back next week, you'll be competing for a pretty hefty prize as well as the championship belt. Spence, what did I forget this evening?
No, I'm happy you mentioned it about LEVR. We are very fortunate to have them, and you know we're trying to put this belt together. As we've said, I floated the idea out last week that it's going to be probably $1,500, and then the rest will go towards the belt. Just trying to figure out what it costs to get it made, but $1,500 on the line between these 4 participants that we saw tonight. I'm happy Derek talked about Xander Schauffele. I was kind of surprised that nobody had mentioned him up until that point. I ended up taking a 2-man outright card of Xander and Oberg. So, I mean, I got them both at 20-1. That's, I think I'll probably, Kyle and I talk about this every single week on the Action Show. And Michael always asks us, like, you know, when you look at these outrights, how deep down the board should you be looking for some of these plays? And like we say it every single week, like if you have them on an outright, there's typically, not every single time with some of these markets, but there's typically going to be value in the top 5s and the top 10. So, I mean, I think Oberg and Xander for me are kind of the 2 names that I'm looking for in placement bets. And then my favorite bet of the week, I'm willing to be wrong on this, and I'm kind of just willing to fade the sharp movement that we talked about with Justin Thomas, but I'm going to take Colin Morikawa minus 111 over Justin Thomas as my favorite bet on the board.
Morikawa over Thomas. There you have it. Colin Morikawa. It was a really fun show. I guess I didn't give my bet, so I will. I'm going to give Jake Knapp for a top 20. I like that top 20 market this week because it's such a small field. So finding some value plays you can get plus money, I think will be a fun sweat over these next 4 days. I can't wait to crown 2 more winners and get to the finals so we can crown the king of the draft. We wish you both the best of luck. Thank you for coming on our show. Good luck, and we'll see you next week.